Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So this is actually the first pick a card I'm filming in my new home after my very complicated move. So before I get into talking about the topic or whatever, just wanted to note that I'll be kind of working on the lighting for this new environment. It's probably not ideal at the moment, but I've got it about as good as I can right now. But I am getting an electrician to come and put in some better lighting for me and so forth. So bear with me. I mean, I'm not sure exactly when you will see this particular pick a card because I tend to film quite a few ahead of time and then be guided by spirit about what to publish when within my schedule. But I'll probably publish this fairly soon after I've done it, even though I've got some others already scheduled, so that you know that this is going to turn up every once in a while in this sort of form probably until I've got the lighting right. So please bear with me. Any comments or suggestions welcome, but I'm obviously going to be to some degree constrained by what's possible in terms of lighting and so forth here. But we'll see. We'll get it better than it is at the moment. Beyond that, let's get into the topic. So today's topic is where and how are you the hero or the heroine right now? And it's based, or the inspiration on it is based on a wonderful new tarot deck, the Everyday Hero Tarot deck. You can see 3 major arcana cards there for your pile choice. That's come out from Baroque Publishing. I backed this on Kickstarter, so that's how I got my copy, but there's details about how you can get a copy if you're intrigued. I fell in love with this deck instantly when I saw it. Just the idea of it really appealed to me. The concept, like every card in this is depicting everyday people who are heroes in their own way, who make life better for others or for the environment or for our intellectual capital or whatever it might be. I just really like that idea of something really grounded but also celebratory. So that's what we're going to try and do today. We're going to try and be very grounded, like where we have to be a hero or a heroine. There's usually a challenge or two. It'll bring out different aspects of our personality, and Spirit no doubt will have some advice about that. So that's what we're doing. You can, of course, go to more than one pile if you want, because you might be an amalgam of this, or there might be a couple of areas in your life at the moment that you're being called upon to be a bit heroic. But in any case, to help with the choice, I did shuffle and say to Spirit the first 3 major arcana cards, 1, 2 and 3, would help with the pile choice for the piles in that order. So for pile number 1, we have the Empress. For pile number 2, we have the High Priestess. And for pile number 3, we have Strength. When you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile number 1 to your reading. So what I felt would help us work out this is not only using the major arcana from the tarot itself, but also use the Gods and Titans and Goddesses and Sirens decks, because I felt like the kind of God-goddess energy gives us a little bit of a sense of the nature of the heroism, the nature of the courage, the nature of moving forward into the world that you're being called upon to do at the moment. So if I bring these 3 together, firstly with the Empress, obviously the way that is being portrayed in this deck is with some form of caregiver, midwife. It feels more like that than the mother itself, which is interesting in the way that this is depicted. It doesn't intrinsically mean it couldn't be the mother. It could be, but I feel with the medical, the stethoscope and so forth there, I feel like there is a bit of an emphasis in this around maybe being the overseer of some new creation or new thing, but not necessarily the one who's doing it. Or if you're doing it, you have almost a dual role. So I feel like there's something very precious here that you're being asked to protect and to bring into being, particularly given the God and Goddess energy here, because we have the God, we have Vulcan, inventiveness. So he is a God of inventiveness, of creativity, of skill, of mastery. I do feel that whatever you're being called to do calls upon that and your creative potential, your mastery and the skills and so forth that you have. But there's also a sense with justice that it has to be fairly applied. And this is why I'm sort of feeling in particular with the depiction of the Empress there that I feel this is less about you having to by necessity create something new. It's more that you're being asked to protect and oversight something that is precious. It could be something, a relationship, it could be some project at work, it could be a political or social cause. And your cleverness in how to do that in a just way is what we're talking about. So I think you'll know if this resonates for you or not. It could have the dual role. That could be both the mother and the caregiver. So for some of you, you may literally be a creation of your own that you're trying to maybe bring into some sort of legal reality, and you're needing to be strategic about it. But I think for many of you, you don't have to be the creative person. It's more that you're the steward. So go with what resonates for you. What we're going to do with the tarot is we're firstly going to try and get a bit of a sense, looking at the types of tarot cards that come out, about how much of the heroism is an internal process, how much is being you need to externally show, and then also some of the nature of it. And so internal processes will be the Ace to 10 coming up. External will be Major Arcana and Court cards. And then whether it's wands or cups or whatever gives us a bit of a sense about what's going on in terms of, is this a very creative process with lots of wands? Is it strategic with swords and so forth? So I'm just going to get a row of cards just to give us a little bit of an idea about the context and the nature of the energy where your heroism is being called upon. So 5 of Wands reversed, King of Swords reversed, 6 of Wands, Strength, Ace of Wands, Queen of Coins. I'm going to do quite a few here, so I'm doing 7 cards there because I really want to get a sense of what we're looking at. I would say it's interesting to me. I feel that this is actually showing that I'm right, that this is less about you being creative and more about you being strategic to support something creative. So, and why I'm saying that is that we're seeing a number of Wands cards there, and or at least a couple of Wands cards, and they're reversed. There is one that's upright, so I do feel that your ability you're going to be recognised for. But I almost feel here with the way that the 6 of Wands is portrayed, it feels to me like you've graduated in something, you've moved up in something. This feels like having opportunities now, as I say, to be more a steward or a manager or a team leader or an influencer or something like that, and you are going to be seen. It is going to be seen. There's a lot of internal energy with it, or at least half of it is internal, but then we're also looking at external factors as well too, because we've got 7 cards and 3 of them are the Ace to 10. So as I say, that's telling me that there is an internal energy. But it's more about your, I think, strategic ability to deal with others. It's like your ability to stop conflict from occurring. It's not about you having to create something yourself. It's more about you being recognised for being able to move something forward. And I feel like there is some sort of energy here with the King of Swords reversed and the Queen of Coins reversed, that there's something that is unfair, something that needs a strategic shift, something that needs to be stabilised in some way. You have a particular strength in this. It's interesting. Some of you may have been drawn to, I think it was pile 3 with Strength as well. And by all means go there. The timing is very good. This is a fortunate energy. This will work out well for you, and it is the right time to move. But it is finding a strategy to, I think, consolidate, protect, and give a longer term trajectory to something. As I say, it could be a cause, it could be a relationship, it could be a career thing, but you are the person who's strongest to do it, and you are recognised as that. But there is something at the moment that requires an inventive strategy, because there is almost like a cause that you're meant to be dealing with. So your heroism is around a strategy to bring something into better balance and a better cause, and following a cause. And I do feel there's a lot of external energy there, but particularly it could be that you're dealing with a man that you have to be careful around trusting, and a woman who is not able to kind of keep things stable like you. But I feel it's just as much that this is almost the missing energy externally that you're bringing with the strength that you have, and that this is a good time to do it. So let's now that we've kind of got an idea that this is an internal kind of energy, but it's not about creativity, it's around dealing with others, reducing the temperature and giving something a sense of stability, making it feel strong, then let's have a look at what is your unique hero profile that will work well with this. Why is it you? Star reversed, the Fool reversed, Knight of Wands, Three of Cups, Three of Wands. Okay, you're a good team person. You're good at bringing people in a good direction. As I say, you don't have to be the originator of something. I mean, some of you may have been, but that's not wherever you're at right now is not the main thing, if that's the case. But it's just as much, I think, that you know how to bring people forward and who to bring forward and to make it a joint celebration and a joint outcome. You're very good at action. And what I do like is that when we've got the inventiveness and the justice, there's an innate energy in you that will temper the speediness that the Knight of Wands sometimes has. The Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords can rush in without thinking it through, but you're not really like that. You have a very finely tuned sense of balance and an understanding of what's going on. And I think you respond to, and you see how this person looks like they're a rescuer, you're responding to something that's out of balance or not right, and you're responding to bringing things back into harmony. So you are the sort of person who can go into a conflict or into some sort of a calamity, and you can actually bring balance and a sense of security. And you're clever. You know how to bring that balance and how to bring people on board. This is definitely not calling on something that you're unfamiliar with. So it's either connected to things in your work and so forth, and you kind of like you have graduated in a way, you do really know how to do this, or you can see the patterns and you understand what to do, and you kind of keep your head when others lose theirs, as that famous poem talks about. With that, you're also not all about you. Like you're likely to come in, do it, fix it and go without necessarily being seen as a star. Now you will be recognised, and you are being recognised, but it's not an ego thing with you at all. You are responding to a situation and trying to bring the best out in it. So you're a bit self-effacing, you're seen as very wise, you're a person of action, but the really key thing for you is that sense of strategy and justice and care means that you bring people with you and you resolve conflict, which is really powerful. So let's see, where do you find your team, your sidekick, the sort of people to help you with this? Because every hero needs a sidekick or a group of people around them. Nine of Swords, King of Cups, the Devil, Two of Coins. Okay, all right. For a start, I'm feeling very strongly with the Two of Coins here. For most of you, it's more likely to be a sidekick than a team. And I think it might be because you're in some sort of position of authority or leadership, either structurally or just in terms of your own influence. I feel like it's not saying you bring people together and you help teams operate, but it in itself can be a bit of a lonely thing. I do feel that you will have at least a sidekick or someone that you can talk with and so forth. May in fact be some sort of a mentor or a support on that level, because it does look to me like part of the role of that is helping you make choices when there's a lot of emotional angst. It's like someone who can reflect that on you. It's also someone who brings you into balance. You need somebody to bring you into balance yourself so that you don't give too much to this. You don't sort of make your whole life about it. But overall, you're looking for someone with emotional maturity, someone who can help bring down the emotional temperature. In fact, I actually think for you, as I say, like a sidekick or someone who influences, or a bit of a PR person or something like that, you are good with people and you are good with making people feel secure, but it's in a very strategic, mind-oriented thing. It's almost as though the best thing that you can have around you is someone who's very emotionally attuned to people. So they'll be able to sort of pick up and see the emotional energy so that you can look at the inventing the practical solutions and taking things through and taking the action. They can help you make choices where you could get stuck in some way. So I think it's not to say that you don't have an emotional sense, because certainly the Empress has that, but it's like you really thrive where you're looking at sort of solutions and strategies and bringing things into balance and like negotiating or whatever. It's almost like there's the best thing you could have is a somebody sitting beside you in a negotiation that reads the room emotionally and comes in and deals with that side of things, depending upon what it is that you're doing here. If this is around a relationship in some way, like you're needing to be inventive to secure and protect a relationship, I think this is saying you can do it, but you're a bit worried about the emotional costs associated with it. So again, a friend or someone like that who can keep that balance properly for you would be helpful. But you're the strategist, you're the leader, you're the person that people would go to because, you know, you're basically right, you know, like you're fair and you're right and people see it. But you need, I think it's more like you need somebody to debrief with and talk through and reflect on the dynamics that are going on than anything else. Okay. So let's see what kind of wildcard energy is around this. Because again, when we're being a hero or a heroine, we often have things that we don't expect. So I'm going to draw a couple of cards that are wild cards externally, external elements that are going to be potentially surprising for you, and then a couple of cards that could be internal responses or energies that you're going to go through in this process, in this period of being the hero, so you understand also what could be surprising within you as well. So firstly, externally, Ganesh. Okay, so it's going to say this is why we've got the Wheel of Fortune. Whatever this is going to actually be very good for you financially or materially in some way. You may well be coming in to nurture or do something, you know, as I say, politically, socially, in a job, or just in around friendships or family stuff potentially, to bring family energies into place. But whatever it is, it's actually going to be very lucky for you. This is actually very fortunate. It's coming off the recognition of you're the right person at the right time, but it is meant to bring you fortune. So you're going to do well out of it, pile one. I don't think that's why you're doing it, but you're going to do well out of it. And we have I am impulsive. Okay, you're going to find energies. Now, maybe this is also why your best sidekick would be someone who's sort of got a very good emotional balance when things get tense. That you may be in a situation with external energies where things change and happen very quickly. Again, this might be what is forcing the hand where you need to be strategic and say, I'm going to look at the patterns of things and the balance of things and make the decisions and keep things solid and secure while you have someone else picking up the nuances that are going on so that it's sustainable. But there's a lot of luck around, but it's almost as though there's something about this situation where lots of people might be sort of seeing what they can gain as well too, and maybe acting very quickly. Now, you have the Knight of Wands in your profile, so you're going to be able to respond quickly. But it's like part of the reason for that, I think, is the Vulcan energy. You're very, very inventive in what you need to do. So that's good. So what about internally? What could surprise you internally? Okay. I'm not going to say what that says, but you can see what that says. You are going to realize in the end that you are really concerned with what is the right thing to do, what is going to protect this, what is going to bring about the right outcomes. And if this causes, you know, if you have to break a few eggs to make an omelette, you're going to do it. Like, I think you're going to realize that you've sort of got to that point where you will not care about what other people think about it or whatever. Now, the irony about that is when you get to that point where you don't really care what people think, that's when people actually start worrying about what you think about them. It shifts the whole dynamic. So you're really there. I think this is part of the strength that you have. It's like, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to strategically get this through. And if somebody thinks that I'm a Machiavellian creature in the process of doing it, I don't care, because you know that you're doing it for justice and you know it's doing it for right. And if you are like that, and if you know how to deal with I guess negotiations and things like that, you can sometimes be a bit demonized for a period of time. But usually what happens, as long as you're coming from a good place, is eventually people realize, but you don't care. So I think you realize you're at that point where you're self-actualized, which is great. What else could surprise you a bit in this? I'm enlightened. Okay. You may not see, now this is interesting, you may not see yourself as being that spiritual, but you're going to find there's a spiritual energy and that you're getting downloads around this and all of that kind of thing, that in fact you have, I mean, that's a beautiful summation of self-actualization, actually. And when we had, remember, the Six of Wands and Strength next to each other, that is as well. There's a sort of enlightened understanding that following what is just and protecting what is precious and all of those sort of things is an end in itself, and that takes you beyond all the sort of constraints. It also frees you from this energy a lot. Like, I do still think a sidekick or a friend is going to help you realize that, but it's like one really ride or die person. It's going to take you away from a lot of the emotional stuff which might have drawn you in before. I think you're going to realize that you've become very adept at this kind of thing, at dealing with leadership and negotiation and protection and stewardship and all that kind of thing. And it's like, oh, okay, now I get why I'm good at this now, because I'm no longer worried about whether I'm good at it. I know I'm good at it, and I'm seen as good at it. So now I can just do it. That's the sort of energy that we have. Okay, so let's do a similar thing with astrology. I'm going to just draw a planetary pairing for external energy that's coming in astrologically you need to be aware of, and internal astrology energy that can help you. So externally, Mars and Chiron. Yeah, okay. So this is she is potentially the mother, but she's also a healer. There's a healing energy here, but it's healing through action. So this is kind of like the marriage of the Knight of Wands and the Empress, if you think about it. It's like there's a feminine sort of healing energy, but there's a lot of action associated with this. So I think this is a very fast-moving situation. It's something that needs you to be inventive. It needs you to be balanced. It needs you to take the lead, that you're kind of being forced to do it. What you will realize, though, is that the overall role that you had in the end was healing a situation. And for you, Saturn, wow. Yeah, this structure, strategy, justice, the long term, the karmic, it's all this sort of stuff. This is why I think you're going to sort of realize, actually, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be karmically. I have matured, I have graduated. That's the sort of sense that I had. And I am bringing the structure, and I am bringing the justice, and I am bringing the strategy that we need for something that is going to be, it's in a situation which was sort of like conflict based or very changeable, very impulsive, and not secure, and I'm going to make it secure. And you'll realize this is something that you work very, very well with Saturn, actually. So some people think Saturn is a tricky planet. I personally think it's a great one, but then I love structure, as anybody who comes to my readings would know. You are really good with this, and it's part of like but I think there's a lot of karmic stuff here. You're really starting to remember who you are, I think, as a result of this. Pole 1. Okay. So let's lastly just look for some signs that things are going in the right direction. So as I was doing quite a bit when I was doing the readings just before I took my break, I was moving into a thing where I said choose a number between 1 and something else, and depending upon what number, that will be your thing. I'm feeling I'm just going to do 1 to 4 here. So please choose a number between 1 and 4, and pause if you need to, because I'm about to deal out. Whatever we get will be a sign, an energy, a feeling, something that could turn up in dreams synchronistically, all of that kind of thing, to tell you that probably this has at least begun and you're heading in the right direction. So if you chose number 1, we have face. If you chose number 2, we have death. If you chose number 3, we have boat. And if you chose number 4, we have closet. Okay. So if you chose number 1, it's talking about face, identity, integrity, confidence, emotions, authenticity, health. Like, again, there's a healthy feeling here. There is something about healing a situation. That is ultimately what you're going to do. But I feel like you maybe didn't even think that was what you were doing to start with, but you will realise. One of the things I think this is very much showing, though, and this is why it is important to, if you have a sidekick or a co-worker or a friend or whatever it is who's good emotionally, is to make sure that you understand face. And what I mean by that is that sort of sense of the dignity of all within something. If you're negotiating, even if you won a tough negotiation, but the other party walks out feeling that they've very demonstrably lost, it's hard to sustain what comes out of it. Every party to a negotiation, to an agreement, to a collaboration needs to feel they have face in that sense. They have a sense of dignity. So I do feel that if you feel that you're recognised and you have face and you're doing what is honourable, that recognising that in others and recognising what is different and unique and the identity and the integrity of others and so forth is very, very important. And when you're in that zone and you're working with that, you're going to be very effective. If you chose number 2, releasing the past, loss, grief, completion, new beginning, that gives a slightly different focus to what could be going on here. It would suggest that what seemed unstable, if you chose this, is probably something that ended and is changing and transitioning. It could be starting a new job. It could be an organisation ending or a merger and acquisition changing it a lot. It could be a political cause which has to shift into something else. But there's some sort of ending around this that precipitates then the care for the new. So of all of the people who come to this, you're probably the closest to the dual role for the Empress. I think you're not only the person putting in place the stability and the strategy for something to grow and become stable, but I think you're also bringing something new in. So I think that there's almost 2 stages to this. One is if you're in the stage where something is ending and everything's a bit chaotic, the first stage that things are going well is you have a strategy that creates something new. The second stage will be when others are coming on board and you're feeling, I guess, this now has actually started to grow into something new. And we're no longer looking to the past, we're thinking into the future. If you chose number 3, I immediately hear that saying, a rising tide raises all boats. This does talk about adventure, travel, exploration, love, spiritual journey, but this might be a particularly spiritual thing. The people who chose number 3, there could be a very strong spiritual energy operating here and a very strong karmic one. But I feel this is really emphasising the collaborative approach, because that's what the rising tide helps all boats or raises all boats is actually meant to show, that when you're creating something that is good and fortunate for you, and there is something very fortunate for you in this, if you actually bring other people along, your victory also becomes theirs, and there's an exponentially good effect around it. So I think when you feel I'm starting to rise and I can bring others with me, that's when you know you're in the sweet spot for this. And if you chose number 4 with closet, feelings, secrets, hidden memories, subconscious fears, this is one where I think you will know that you're on the right path when you're dealing with that 9 of Swords anxiety and you're perhaps, and the feeling the devil, like what are the shadow issues. It's like you really know you're starting to head towards what you're meant to do at the precise point where things feel like they're murkiest. So don't be worried or dismayed if that's the case. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the High Priestess, who is obviously like a librarian or some keeper of secrets and knowledge, as would normally be the case with the High Priestess. But there's a sense, as I say, with this tarot of bringing it into the material world. So it does suggest that your heroism has something to do with your knowledge and your wisdom and your capacity to look deeply into things. And I think the High Priestess to me understands the mysteries of the universe, the mystery schools, that kind of thing, like what is going on a really deep sort of karmic or universal consciousness sort of level. So there's something for you very, very spiritual, very, very much about learning and wisdom, particularly as the god that you have here is Thoth, which is all about wisdom and knowledge again. So there's something, for some of you, there's a very strong connection here, I'm just going to say, to ancient Egypt, and I'm feeling like the mystery schools in ancient Egypt and Isis and all of that sort of thing as well. This heroism you have draws upon great wisdom, great depth of knowledge, and I feel over many lifetimes. If you don't believe in reincarnation, then connections, through genetic connections, ancestral connections, and also calling upon you to either increase your learning about something that is, I think, very philosophical and very deep and long-term, or reviving that if you have that already. And so it's interesting that you also have your Maya or hope as the female energy. So I feel like that you are being called upon, and this could be in a very big social or political issue. It could be something in your workplace. It could be something in a relationship. It could be something in your family. But there is actually a big sweep of history to this. So if it was a social cause, then part of what you would be called upon is understanding the ebb and flow of history and how social causes operate and so forth. If it was a work thing, then there's something here about wisdom and depth of knowledge in your field that's being called upon. If it's a relationship thing, there's something here about really understanding the spiritual richness of connections and bringing wisdom. In fact, it's very interesting that the thing that came straight into my head when I saw these three put down for some reason was Marcus Aurelius, who was, I think, Roman, a great leader and a great philosopher. So I feel there's almost that kind of that sense of wisdom, philosophy and so forth, but it's also towards having hope. Marcus Aurelius, I think this is why it came to me, he had all these sort of, I guess, epigrams or sort of like pieces of wisdom and so forth, and they were all towards understanding humanity, politics, the tides of history or whatever, but they were towards a good outcome. He was a very fair and just person, and it was a lot of wisdom as a result of that. So I feel that your heroism here, it's got to do with taking some sort of very deep knowledge, and as I say, for many of you this is spiritual over many lifetimes, but not just having it for the sake of having it. It's actually to bring it out into the world and give hope in a situation. So yeah, it's like the person who would say it's always darkest before the dawn, and there's a great wisdom to that. It's as I say, the Marcus Aurelius who would be able to look at reversals in fortune. In fact, there's a philosopher or a writer about philosophy, Alain de Botton. I may not be completely pronouncing his name correctly, but he wrote a book called The Consolations of Philosophy, and I think there was actually even a video series that was drawn for that as well too. And he was looking at philosophy and how it helps us understand reversals in fortune as much as anything else, find consolation and understanding that this too shall pass, as they say. In fact, that might be something Marcus Aurelius said. I'm not sure of the derivation of that particular term. But that's the feeling here. I feel like you are understanding something with a depth of wisdom that is giving hope to others or hope to yourself in the situation. But it is a heroic thing because it's like you have to face, with your wisdom, you have to face the potential reversals, the potential losses to also be able to bring in the new dawn, so to speak. So we're going to use a quite big row, 7 cards. And the reason I want to do that to start with is that if we see a preponderance of major arcana or court cards, then a lot of this is being externally driven, other people, situations and so forth. If we see a preponderance of ace to 10 in the minor arcana, then more of it is an internal thing in you in terms of the situation and where it is at the moment. So let's first of all get a sense of the situation and the balance of internal and external imperatives involved. So King of Coins, Queen of Swords, 3 of Coins, 4 of Coins reversed, 2 of Cups, King of Swords, the Star. Okay. So it doesn't surprise me. It's a pretty, I mean, it's kind of balanced, but it's erring towards external. Like you've got 7 cards here and you've got 3 court cards. So there are other people that are very much involved in this. And these people are all very clever, developed, successful. You know, they have a depth. You have a depth, a real depth. The people involved in this do as well. And there is a wish for hope. So the external thing in particular here, the hope energy of the Star, it's one of your strengths and your knowledge is bringing that. Internally, this is about creating good relationships and getting people to work together. Now, it's very interesting with the 3 of Coins and then we've got 3 court cards here. So for some of you, there is literally 2 men and a woman involved in this situation or who are very key to this situation. Doesn't have to be as literal as that for everybody, but for some there is. There is a great deal of harmony potentially between the woman and the man because you've got the Queen of Swords and the King of Swords and it's both upright. And King of Coins suggests material stuff. I feel like this feels like there's a material situation involved, but it's not it might have a good foundation, but it's like getting it to really move, really become all it could be, and to be stable is difficult. There isn't a lack of harmony with the Two of Cups. You get on well with the people around the other. They get on okay. But what I think is going on here is that you have people around you who are, I'll give you an example. Let's say that this was in a workplace and this is you're a team of executives or whatever, because it's kind of at that level where there's a lot of heft to everybody in this in one way or another. There are some people involved in this who are really good money people and really good sort of like strategic people, but they're very practical. It's very much of the mind, and I think it's almost a little bit sterile. And that's why your wisdom that brings in hope and brings in vision, you're the visionary, actually. This is what it's saying, that like, it's like there's a situation that is good but could be so much better. And it's partly because it's almost, that sort of saying in workplaces culture is this is the way we do things around here. It's like something's got stuck. It's not in conflict, it's not terrible, but it's sterile. Like that, and it needs the wisdom that takes it towards a vision. So it's like a really brilliant project plan or program plan with no vision as to what this is. It's just kind of like, we're just doing what we do, and so I think you're the visionary. But I think the interesting thing is, and the reason why you will be really respected, even if this represented 3 senior executives and you're in an organisation, you're not at that level, your vision is going to be respected because there is something deeply wise in you and people respond to that. Okay, so let's have a little bit more of a look about your particular unique profile then as a hero. And this is, you're getting something unstuck. You're getting it to realign with its vision. And you are the one who has to do this. The others who are around, they're well-meaning, I think, but they wouldn't be able to do it like you would. So a little bit more about your hero profile. Wheel of Fortune reversed, Page of Cups, 7 of Cups, 4 of Cups, 7 of Cups. Yeah, it's all about, you are the growth person. And this is the consolations of philosophy. That's why I kept sort of like saying Marcus Aurelius. I was thinking about, you know that things go up and down. I think that whatever the situation is, as I say, it could be something going on in your family. Your family are all fun, but they're not very spiritual. And you're the one who needs to bring the vision. In the workplace, it's like that, a political group, whatever it is. There's something, you really shine when understanding the ebbs and flows of fortune are involved, and like, bringing things back to what the heart wants to say and what was the dream in the first place and what options remain, rather than being stuck. You also have a way of being able to keep people focused on the prize when growth becomes slow, when it takes time. So thinking about it, like King of Coins character here would be probably okay with things taking time, but 2 Swords characters, there could be people around who just really want to see results quickly and it's not happening quickly enough. You are able to deal with that and keep people focused on the eyes on the prize. You know that like just because something slows down or something is not moving as quickly or something is not working out and there's a reversal, if you recalibrate back to what you're trying to do, there are many, all roads lead to Rome sort of concept. So you are the person who keeps the dream alive. You are the person who knows how to deal with the ebbs and flows of fate, and you have the wisdom to have the patience to not get kind of emotionally stuck. So you're the influencer, you're the visionary, you're the cheerleader, you're all of those sort of things. Let these people project plan to their heart's content. Let this one watch the money, all of that kind of stuff. That will look after itself. They're very, very competent at it, and if it's in a family, they're good within their roles, but they're limited compared to you because they're clever and they're experienced and they're practical, but you're a visionary. That's what we're talking about. That's different. Okay, so then let's look at, where's a sidekick or a friend or a team for you? Because I feel like you work okay with these people or you're dealing okay with them. It doesn't have to be at work. I'm just using that sort of terminology. It's not in conflict, but they're not like you. So are there sort of team people, friends or whatever that can can nurture and nourish your visionary side. What do you need to be aware of with that? Ace of Wands, Five of Wands reversed, Five of Swords reversed. Okay. I think this is saying, because of the nature, the depth of the wisdom and the visionary thing, it's not a classic Lord of the Rings, Frodo has Samwise or whatever. This is actually you. You are your own support. You are your own visionary. You are the inspiration. All this is saying is that try not to get drawn into the conflict. Just keep on keeping on. You have to find that within yourself. That's part of the heroism. It's not that people dislike you. There's nothing like that. Actually, you've got good relationships with people. It's just your role is a very singular one, and it comes from a great deal of depth that kind of only you have. There isn't your level around you. Doesn't mean there isn't in the world, but there isn't around you at the moment. So it's a little bit lonely on that kind of level, but it's not awful. But it's actually telling me there quite clearly that it's not about sidekicks or team. You have a very specific thing. So let's have a look at the wildcard energy, because when we are called upon to use our heroism, there's usually something that's a little bit wild or different about it. So I'm going to draw 2 cards for external factors that are surprising, or wild cards and all of it, and then 2 cards for what could be surprising within you as you take on this role and you show your heroism, the heroism of your vision, I think, your knowledge and your vision. So firstly, externally. Thirst for revenge. Okay, now that's interesting. Because I actually feel overall there's reasonable harmony in all of this. It doesn't feel like it's come, but something is not quite working. You may find actually with 4 of coins reversed and 3 of coins upright that this overall, say it was in a workplace, I'll just use that as an example, but extrapolate this to whatever. There's pretty much good teamwork, pretty much good leadership. As I say, it's a bit sterile, it's a little bit stuck, but it's okay. And there's reasonable harmony. There may be someone in the midst of all of this who is either in it or is external and having some kind of influence on it in some way that is trying to sabotage it. So your wisdom in understanding that, understanding the reversals that are occurring and why, and even maybe this is the 4 of Cups, seeing the person who's not going to be happy, who's going to be kind of like a professional victim in it or whatever, being aware of that and like being able to give a vision that takes away from the influence of that person. I do think there's some sort of influence here with somebody who is not supporting what you and the others are trying to do, or not. And if this is like the wisdom to really connect with the love of your life, but that you're surrounded, you've met in a workplace, or you've met in, like a group or whatever, and you've got to sort of find the way to shine that light and draw them to you. There could be an ex or something like that. There's somebody who would sabotage some of this, but it's not the main characters in it, but there is somebody, so be aware of that. What else? Let's create. Okay. That's interesting too. One of the other reasons maybe why this was saying not about sidekicks is that I feel like maybe these 2 things are connected. There is someone who wants to create something very different, a different relationship, a different project or something like that. And they may be at first quite beguiling because you're a visionary and they're a little bit similar, but they're not. This is telling you they're not. There's somebody who has felt frustrated, who's out either to destabilise the situation you're in, or just in general. They like to disrupt, they like to create, and they make a bad enemy. But I feel as though you'll be able to understand that, and that your vision, but it may be a competing vision. So you might have to deal with a competing vision. Pile 2. Sorry, I just paused for a second because some other screen came over my screen for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, let's have a look at what could be surprising for you internally. Gift. Okay. There is something about unlocking gifts, secrets or whatever. I pay a lot of attention to sleep, what comes up in dreams and so forth. You may find you have gifts, spiritual and otherwise, that you didn't realise that you had. The situation will call upon that. But I feel like it's unlocking the key. This is why I feel like there's a past life sort of energy operating here. And gold, alchemy, balance, wisdom. This is going to be fortunate for you. This is going to be materially very fortunate for you, but it comes from a spiritual thing. And this is a spiritually advanced group, I have to say. There is definitely a sense of a lot of wisdom coming in from other lives. And I think, pay attention. I mean, it certainly is going to bring opportunities. Gifts are going to come to the fore. You're going to realize things about yourself. But I think it's like remembering things as much as anything else. So, and pay attention to alchemy if you haven't already. That might be a hint that alchemy is something to look into and study as a kind of a basis for what you're trying to do here. All right, let's also get astrological energy. Let's get a pairing of planets for the external energy around you and a pairing for your internal energy, pile 2. Okay, externally. Now this is this odd card in this deck which says Moon Mercury, but it's actually Moon Mars. So I think we're actually looking at 3 cards rather than 3 planets rather than a pairing. Moon Mars to me means that there's a lot of emotional energy and a lot of emotional drive associated with it, and maybe particularly around if there's someone with a different vision. I think that's probably what this is talking about. You may have a competing vision. Yours is wiser and will take whatever this is where it's meant to be, and if it's a competing person for a relationship, you're the better fit, but there is a lot of energy emotionally being put in by somebody externally. And with Mercury, I feel like Mercury and the Moon are what's connecting there, as that's saying. That's be careful of emotional communications. I think, oddly enough, that sort of King of Coins, Queen and King of Swords, it's sort of ideal for whatever the situation is because it's a bit dispassionate. And yours is also wisdom and hope and vision. So it's like we have coins, swords and wands. So this external thing that could be disruptive is more the kind of emotional cups energy. And oddly enough, I mean, I would normally say cups are important, the heart is important, but this is more about wisdom and this is more about vision and creating something than it is about the emotions. But you need to be aware emotions are still around it. Okay, let's have a look at you, the energy for you internally. Mars and Neptune, your action is very spiritually oriented. You're very, very psychic, very, very spiritual. It's saying it over and over. And that's where the action needs to be. You need to be focusing on that. And maybe that's also why the emotion, because it's an interesting thing again there's 2 different pathways in a way to spirituality that people espouse. Some espouse you go through the heart, you don't live in the head and all that kind of thing. I don't feel very comfortable with that personally because I think we have a brain for a reason and we need to have balance and so forth. But it does sort of say that's the way to it. The other way is more philosophical. It's more Neptunian. It's more symbolic. It's that kind of language. There's the emotional language and then there's almost the symbolic language. You will find external triggers with emotional language, but your pathway, the way you should go, is going to be more symbolic. This is a group which the next stage, which is a closing out, is going to be particularly important for, because what I'm using is dream imagery. And I'm going to ask you to choose a number between 1 and 4 because depending upon which one you choose, and pause if you need to because I'm about to shuffle and deal out, depending upon what you choose, that will tell you when this is sort of kicking in and starting to move in the direction where your heroism is going to be called upon and successful, getting somewhere. So because there's been such a feeling all the way through this of like dream imagery and the numinous, it's very important for this group. So if you chose number 1, boots. If you chose number 2, journaling. If you chose number 3, sorry, I just bashed the camera. If you chose number 3, chest. And if you chose number 4, ritual. Okay. So if you chose number one, boots, that's this Mars energy or whatever. This is meant to move forward, hardworking, down to earth, grounded. I mean, yeah, it is. It's very grounded. And you're grounded too. It's just that you're just more of a visionary than the other people around you. But something is meant to be taken forward. These boots are meant to be walking, as they would say. So I think there's a sense here that once you feel like you've got a direction and you're walking towards something, that's when more and more of your vision, you're going to become the natural leader. People are just going to follow you. So it's important to think about this in action. It's like the worst thing that could happen in this situation is for it to stay exactly the same. It's not that it's bad, but it can be so much more. If you chose number two, journaling, self-reflection, catharsis, new chapter, transmuting pain, there could be an aspect here where you've got her reading a journal, like keeping your own journal, keeping your own record of this, writing your own story, writing your narrative, even using things like bibliomancy, where you look for an answer by just pulling a book off the shelf and opening a page and reading the sentence that you first see to see an answer. All these things I think can be important, because I do feel that, as I say, in this group there's a lot of spiritual wisdom that needs to come up. But your story is the important one here. It's the vision. You're the visionary. You're the author of this in many ways. If you chose number three, protects the heart, love, affection, strength, passion, I think of all the people who come to this reading, you're the one who needs to be most aware of maybe a competitor in some way, who is also a visionary in their own way, but they're much more emotionally charged and they could use emotional energy to destabilize. So it's important to protect your heart. It's so that you keep the balance that's necessary to do what you have to do in this situation. And if you chose number four, ritual, spiritual protection, initiation, community, routine, complacency, this is exactly the balance I'm talking about. You are in a very material, almost sterile, staid sort of situation. So you're in a situation or a relationship or whatever it is that is not innately spiritual. It doesn't appear to be innately spiritual, but that's exactly what it needs. It's partly your spiritual ability. It's almost like you've been placed in a situation where that isn't seen so that you can use it without people understanding its power. That's a possibility, and that could be the spiritual protection. Or it is that this is the next stage to make things work for you in a situation and to bring the hope. You've got to bring that kind of sense of spirituality into it, whether overtly or covertly, to bring about like the alchemy, the gold. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 2. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to Strength, which in this deck is shown obviously as a caregiver, a nurse, or some other form of caregiver to someone who is obviously going through a difficult time in the way that is being portrayed. But it has the same sort of gentleness to it that you would see in a traditional strength card. It's just that in this case, instead of a lion, which is equal or greater in power, the real power here is in the healing and the balance and the sense. There's almost a connection towards the death card in this, I feel, with the eternity symbol up there, and with this sort of sense of maybe dealing with someone who is close to passing on. Not necessarily that the person in this is going to, but I feel like the strength here is very much within you as opposed to relative to something else, which is what the strength card often in some ways seems to portray, the kind of the strength of gentleness with the strength of ferocity. This is kind of like more just strength of gentleness overall, which is interesting then, given that we have in the gods, we have Shiva, so the destroyer, and the goddess is Hera, commitment. There's a real sense of major change, major transition, and needing to have the commitment even when things are not easy. Like there's something that's not easy about this, and I guess that's why you got drawn to Strength. There is something that requires all your strength. It's a very big change energy. Something is ending, whether it's a life to pass on to something else, and there's a commitment to help that happen in an easy way. Now, I'm not saying this is not predicting a death around you, okay? The cards and my guide never does that. I'm using this allegorically. So there's either a sort of sense of this representing what more the death card would to me, the transition, the change and the choice, or it is, as I say, where things are very tumultuous, a lot is changing, a lot is being unraveled for something new, and you have the gentleness and the strength and the commitment to see it through. Even, I think, if there is some cost to you, because Hera is such an interesting goddess. She was married to Zeus, and Zeus was always off with other people. So there's a sort of a sense of commitment even when it's difficult. So I do think of all the piles, this is the one that maybe has the most full-on energy that's calling on your heroism at the moment, and the most overtly difficult. So what we start with is a row of 7 cards. I'm using quite a few because I want to see the balance of major arcana and court cards that represent external forces and people, and minor arcana, which represents you. And then, of course, what the cards are, to get a bit more of a sense about what are we talking about here in terms of the energies that you're dealing with. Then we'll have a look at what your particular hero profile is, and then who you might be able to get help from or have a sidekick with, or a team around you as well. But firstly, let's just see a little bit more about what's really going on here in terms of the balance of internal and external factors. The Devil. Devil Shiva, like this is full on. Ace of Wands, 5 of Swords reversed, 4 of Coins reversed, 6 of Swords reversed, the World, the 3 of Wands. Okay. I've got a feeling the 4 of Coins reversed turned up in every reading. It's certainly turned up in at least one other. And at this sort of point. I think that what it is pointing to is that heroism is needed where the sort of structure of something is not secure in one form or another. I guess we don't need to be heroic when everything's stable. But there's something very big. There's a freedom energy here. I mean, that is good. There is a freedom energy, that a new rush of energy. So Shiva as a destroyer is also the creator. So there's a sense of this is actually a liberation. There's a liberation energy operating. Again, the Death card is a kind of liberating energy as well. You know, we move from one phase to another. We liberate from the past into the future. So there's definitely a sense here that there's an external, probably very material, power-oriented. There's a lot about power associated with this, actually. And for many of you, there's a world, like this has got international or at least national sort of implications. It's also something coming to an end, coming to fruition, where there isn't a lot of clarity yet about the direction to go next. But this is big, like this is big stuff. It has very big implications for others. It seems to have a lot about power. And it's only, and what would come next is only at its beginning stages. So this is why what is being called upon for you is to have the strength to deal with these sort of factors that are going on internally for you, and I think for others around you. Because it's interesting, we're not seeing any court cards there, so there's no specific other people which are being highlighted. I think this is more a generic thing about for you and for others, this situation or the feeling internally. There's the the rise of the new, but there's everything's falling apart. How do I stick with things? What do I do? What do I change? What don't I change? I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going. And this is why we've got the commitment. It's like you need to commit to the new, even when the structure is not assured and we don't really know where you're going yet, because you're in the process. This will change. This will pass. The end will occur, and then it will become clearer. But right now, very big shifts, very big changes are going on in a situation. And it could be a relationship, it could be a family thing, it could be political or social, it could be career, it could be anything. But the two things are absolutely certain at the moment. One is that major change is occurring, it's liberating, it will be complete, and new energy has to come in. The other thing is that your commitment and your strength to hang on and keep moving even when it isn't clear is what your heroism is about. Okay, so let's have a look and see what is your particular heroic profile in this situation. 10 of Coins, the Magician, Death, yeah. It's about change and transition and comfort with that. 4 of Swords reversed, 5 of Coins reversed. Okay. First and foremost, you're very talented, you're very good at communication, you can draw upon all the different energies because the Magician has all of the suits at his disposal. Very, very good. And see, we got the infinity symbol, there's something here that's very, as I say, it's big, it's a major change or whatever, and it's your skill and capacity and your strength are the two things that come together to make that happen. You are very likely to be someone who has to lead others, speak to others, draw, make other people feel, yes, we can deal with all of this, and yes, we can stay the course. Like, your communication skills are very, very important, and you have a natural sort of sense of commitment. Like, you are very loyal. You're seen as very loyal. You're seen as very dependable. You will be there. Even when the going gets tough, you will be there. Even when the world is shaking, you will be there, and you will have the right words, and you are able to deal with change. For some of you, you may literally be change agents, and this could just be showing the ability that you have in that environment. But otherwise, you are able to help with that, and you're able, I feel like these are like mirroring each other. I feel like there's a sense here of being able to respect and gently move from one thing to another. It's almost like if it was, say, an organisation that was going through a major change, like it was going through a merger and acquisition, for instance. It's like you are able to see the old put aside with dignity to then allow the new to come in. There's that sort of sense. It's a beautiful, nurturing energy, but it's an energy that is inherently about change. It's saying it's not about health. It's probably trying to literally say, but we're not talking about health here. We're not talking about recovering from sickness. And we are talking about something that's not as private. This feels very private, but this is not private. You need to be out there and be being seen and taking action, and you need to be connecting with other people. It's not something you do on your own. So given that, it's very important to see in the next row, who are kind of the team or friends that you could draw on. What's the energy there that you could draw on with this? The Moon reversed, Knight of Swords reversed, Three of Cups. Okay, you do have some good people around you. Like, that's what I'm saying, you're not on your own in doing this. You are particularly skilled at this, and you are kind of the hero in holding things together, but you do have good supports around you. There are people around you who help you slow down when it's necessary, but also speed up when it's necessary. There's a very good emotional thing. You've got good friendships, you've got good workmates, whatever it might be. And part of that is to kind of bring to the surface for you, when do we need to speed up? When do we need to slow down? When do we need to contemplate? When do we need to take action? They're positive too. It's like you've got a cheerleading squad, but they're positive in all of this. They're very glass half full types. And they bring to the surface what you need to do. This feels like someone, like a classic thing for an energy like this is some sort of like leader of change within an organisation. You have a very good team working for you, and they bring you the intel you need, and they help work out where to focus energy, and they know how to celebrate and kind of toast the wins, really, because, as I say, this is going to take a while. This is not something that's going to be quick. It's a big change process, and you have to stay committed to it. But part of your thing is that you just have this innate sense of loyalty and stability. People will follow you and pay attention to you. So you are kind of core stability within this. But these people are important because you could overdo it, or you could become too introspective. You need to get some good intel for this, and you need sometimes just to have people to go this is great. Let's toast our victory. So I'm glad that you have this, because it looks pretty full on. Okay, let's have a look at some wildcard energy. I'm going to draw a couple of cards for external factors that could be surprising, and then a couple of cards for internal factors, things that might surprise you about yourself as you call upon your heroism. Pile 3. So first, external wildcard. Oh, what a surprise. Metamorphia, transformation, changing skin, alchemical process, revolution of views. This is about metamorphosis. This is about transformation. This is like the death card, as I say. This is the big shifts. So that's inevitable. That's being externally driven. You haven't said it's now time to change. You are responding to a bigger change that's happening. And it could be worldwide for some of you. Some of you, this sort of energy feels a bit like, what's going on at the moment with AI and all of that kind of thing. The amount of change that we're going to have with that. and how it's going to be really important to know where to put our energy to understand what's going on and to collaborate. That's going to be really important, and it's going to take a long time to be fully aware of what the direction is. Okay, let's see a second wildcard element from outside. Ghosting. Okay, so you may find some people feel rejected or that you've left them behind. I think you've got good people around you, but maybe some people won't be able to stay the course, and that's part of being the heroine too, to be able to move forward even when that's occurring. The other thing I think is interesting is I felt like a really strong connection to the death card with this, and then we got the death card. And now we have ghosting. There could be remnants and energies of the past that keep haunting the new situation. So, there's that theory that, after a revolution, what happens, the moderates sort of take over and then they become exactly the thing they despised. I think there's maybe that sort of energy as well about making sure that the change is true and you commit to the new path once you know what it is. Because it's almost like the past keeps knocking on the door and saying, remember me, we could do this. But this is like a good thing. The change is good, I think. But yeah, the past is ghosting, is haunting you a bit. What about energy internally for you? I am independent. Okay, now that's interesting because you do have people around you and you do have a lot of good advice. There will be times, though, where only you will know what to do. So it's not like you're ultimately dependent and you only do what your team says to do. You're not going to be only speaking a script. In the end, the buck stops here sort of thing. It's you who really can keep this going, and you start to see how much your own internal strength is key to you. And I am moving. Okay, so just the momentum of it. Maybe that this has been a long time coming, and it's been like almost like waiting for tsunami to hit, and then the tsunami hits, and then you're suddenly like whoosh, I'm just moving out ahead. But I also feel like you may say, I will do this, I will see it through, I will birth the new world or whatever it is, and then I'm moving on. Again, change in organisations can be like that. Sometimes strategically and tactically, once you've been a change agent, if there's been a lot of kind of organisational trauma or whatever associated with it, sometimes it's best to move on because you are associated with that. Even if you brought it in a way, the absolute best way it could be, you can be associated with that. And it's interesting with ghosting and I am moving. There could be actually a very big clue here for some of you. If the change is sufficiently strong and you're sufficiently associated with it, maybe the best thing to do then, get it done and then move on, because otherwise it's almost like the memory of it ghosts you. It's like haunts you and haunts the situation. Okay, let's see astrologically. Let's get a pairing of planets for the energy externally and also internally. So externally, Mercury and Venus. So this is why we've sort of got the really strong communication thing with the Magician. Ultimately, this will be a very good thing for communication and connection. This metamorphosis is necessary, but it's also very, very important that the way that it is communicated is caring and gentle. Like that's very, very important. Being just a hardliner about this is not going to work. The caring and support is really, really important for this to operate well. And Mercury and Chiron, heal yourself as well. So Chiron is sometimes the wounded healer. So I think there is a thing here about make sure that your own self-talk and your own connections and your friendships or whatever, like take healing for yourself as well too, because otherwise you might end up carrying. This is also maybe why for many of you, once you've been through this change, you need to move on, because otherwise you'll kind of you stay in that wounded space when everybody else has moved on. So there may be something about make sure you heal yourself. There's also something here with this group for some of you about mentoring others and coaching others so they then can step into the sort of shoes that you've been in, because Chiron is the teacher of magicians as well. So I feel like you might have a legacy here of showing people the path and how to do it, and like that role is really important, and that might make you realise that you've gone to another level with this. That this whole process, you've actually created the ones who create the legacy, and now you can move on and do something else if you want. Okay. Lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to look for a sign, synchronicity, symbol, feeling, energy that will tell you that this is sort of in train and that you're heading towards using your heroism in the most positive way. So I'll ask you to choose a number between 1 and 4. Pause if you need to, because I'm about to deal out. And then depending upon that number, that will be your sort of closing out energy or sign or symbolism that the heroism is now being called upon, and that you're doing it in the best possible way. So if you chose number 1, we have toilets. I was amused when that comes up, particularly since I often dream about looking for a toilet. I usually wake up and find out that I just need to go to the toilet when that's the case. Okay, if you chose number 2, art. If you chose number 3, ritual. And if you chose number 4, shadow work. Okay, all right. So if you chose number 1, this metamorphosis, all of that, it has to happen. It is like a detox. It's like flushing the past down the toilet, literally. It's about renewal. It's about cleansing. But there may be some healing around people feeling, particularly in things like organisational. Just again, I'll talk about organisational change. It doesn't have to be this. It could be something in a family, sort of family relationships. It just depends on what the situation is. But I can certainly tell you that one of the things that can stop change or make it difficult to do in its early stages is that people often think change in an organisation is like telling them they did something wrong, and it usually isn't. It's usually just now there's better technology available, or there's a new client group, or there's a new social imperative, or whatever it is. But you have to, again, have this gentleness and this dignity for the past to say it is precisely, in fact, the skills, abilities and focus that you've already shown that make you ideal to go through this change and take the organisation to its next stage. But yeah, you need to give people face, you need to give them dignity and all of those sort of things. So I feel that this is saying that, yes, this is necessary. Yes, there are things from the past that literally need to be flushed away to bring new energy in. But be careful about how that is portrayed. Again, remember with the Mercury and Venus, be gentle. Be gentle around this, because it's not so much that people did something wrong or they should be embarrassed about. It's just that time for change is necessary. If you chose number 2, art, instinct, authenticity, creative expression, power, catharsis, I think this is saying that the subset of this group that's come here, this is an art form for you. You're very skilled at it, the magician, energy and so forth, and particularly I think around the expression of it with the double Mercury that we look at there. The important thing is how you express this. Your communication skills are going to be particularly important, and I think when you're drawn upon in one form or another to express a new vision, even when it's not clear what that vision is, you'll know that you're on the right track. If you chose number 3, there's something very strongly spiritual around this. It could be in a spiritual situation. It could be in a spiritual group. Otherwise, there's a very strong spiritual energy around this. Again, I'm sort of feeling like the other side. This may be saying for some of you that you're mediumistic, actually, with those 3 cards and the way they're portrayed, and then this. In that case, then like ancestral or spirit guides will be very, very important for this, and make sure that you put in place a ritual for yourself to be able to draw that energy in and to get that communication again with Mercury. And if you chose number 4, the interesting thing about this, I think, is a journey for you. There's like 3 stages, and the first stage will be the external shadow work that comes up that causes the change. The second stage will be just getting through all of this and helping others through all of it, using all your skills. But I think the third one is that you're going to understand and see, you'll also have the spiritual guidance, what you've been carrying of your own, almost represented by the thing that has to change, that you're now free from. So the interesting thing for you, if you chose number 4, is that I think this feels like a fairly external process that has been triggered because it's time, but you're going to bring to the fore parts of yourself that you didn't realize you had, or even that you repressed, and you're going to actually see them in a new light, and you're going to move forward and be able to use them in a way that's healing for you as well. So I hope that that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.